This episode, part two of our interview with AJ from Greenshire Handyman and the Handyman Process. Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show, home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help save you time, money, and aggravation on your home maintenance and repair. This edition's entitled Part two of our interview with AJ from Greenshire Handyman and the Handyman Process. We're going to jump right into the show, and here it is. What other challenges are you facing on a part-time business? So we've got scheduling, a little bit on pricing, but you seem to have gotten that pretty well fixed out. You've got lead flow down. I kind of getting more into the weeds. How do you handle, like, are you way selective on jobs? Because you're talking about 2 or 3 hour jobs on the weekdays and then a couple of longer jobs. So you basically are kind of doing smaller, not small, necessarily smaller, but do you do multiple day jobs, or tell me more about how you're running your process there?
So I don't usually do multi-day jobs unless it's a client that I've worked for a while. So I have a couple of landlords that I will do multi-day projects. And that's kind of well established. But most of the time, a lead will come in, right? It comes in. So this is probably bad, but homeowners need to know this. I hardly ever answer my phone, and there's reasons for that. If you call my phone during the daytime, I'm working. So my voicemail will say, I'm working my day job. I can't answer the phone right now, or it's after hours and I'm working a handyman job. I don't answer the phone if I'm working either my day job or my afternoon job. And in that voicemail message, it essentially says, go to my website, fill out my form, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So I have the same type of logic built into Facebook, and I think Yelp as well. So everybody's being driven over to my Facebook page where a form pops up that gets integrated with my CRM system. And I use Markate for the guys out there who are curious. And then when I come home, I'll have this list of people I need to get back in touch with. Like yesterday, I had 4 or 5. This was a busy day yesterday. I usually only get 1 or 2. But I start looking at the jobs and I'm like, okay, yeah, this one I can. Let me call this person back. Most of the time I'm communicating by text, but I'm essentially just reaching out. It's important to understand the scope of work. So when I open up my phone and I start typing, I have a kind of auto texting. I type a few letters and then the whole sentence that I usually start off with, thank you for contacting Greenshire Handyman for an estimate. I understand that you're looking for help with, and then I put in the details of the estimate. And then I say, can you please provide some pictures and more details on these things? And then, depending on the job, there's always the things that you learn as a handyman. Hey, don't forget to ask them if they're providing paint. Don't forget to ask them this. Don't forget to ask them if the wall's textured. All that kind of stuff that experience you just need to have. So that text will go out, and then I'll get some communication back and forth. Sometimes you can tell people are serious, and sometimes you could just they're just trying to reach out to you. So sometimes I'll give them a high level estimate number. Hey, you're looking at a range of up $900, and my schedule is not open for the next 2 or 3 weeks. That right there half the people will say, well, I need it done tomorrow. Okay, I apologize. I'm not your guy. I would recommend so-and-so. And then the other ones are like, yeah, like my sweet spot is, oh yeah, I'm willing to work with your schedule and those prices look fine. Then we go to the next stage. Then I formalize it. I tell them, okay, I'm going to send you a formal estimate. I go into my Markate system. I take all the pictures. I take all the descriptions. I usually always give an itemized list for each of the particular jobs because I tell them, hey, as a part-time guy, I'm going to try to knock out all this stuff. But if it goes over a few days, you're only paying me as I go along. I don't take any money up front. I'm only paid at the end of the job when things are all said and done. But that's generally my flow. And then I put it on the schedule and the cycle repeats tomorrow. Like, so this afternoon, I'm going to do some deck repair stuff that, actually, no, I'm doing an estimate today, but tomorrow I'm doing some deck repair stuff that I scheduled 3 weeks ago, and I'll forget about it. Right? I'll open up my app and go, oh yeah, I'm doing this stuff. I go into my garage, I grab everything I need in my pack out, I put it in the car, and then I'm kind of off the races. So that's the kind of flow that I'm in now. But if you rewind about a year, man, it was a mess. I was on my iPhone with pictures all over the place, the Notes app. I was on spreadsheets, on Google Sheets. It was horrible. And Markate seems to be the number one software out there for handymen. I know other people are using Joist and Jobber. I don't have experience with those. I only have experience with Markate. But man, what a what a game changer. And you'll see a lot of my videos on YouTube are focused around that, because it, especially as a part-time guy where I don't have a lot of time, that just makes my process so smooth, because I know once you're on the schedule, like, you're good to go. You're good to go. I have all the details I need built into the work order, and now I'm just going to show up. And then when I show up, I hit the I'm on my way button. When the job's done, I'm done. I hit the invoice button. And it seems like people are blown away by that automation, because everybody always wants, how do I pay you? You need cash? Like, do you need cash? I'm like, no. I said, if you want to pay cash, I'll take it. But I take cash, check, or credit card. I'll send you a link. And every time I say that, I'll send you a link. You're like, oh, I can just pay online. I say, yeah, absolutely. And then it goes back to that, making it as smooth and easy for the client or customer as you can, to build up my brand as a high quality, well communicating handyman.
Mm.
So
that's really great, super great advice. My takeaway on that, especially as a part-time guy, my process is extremely similar to that, except I actually have an administrative assistant. Her name is my wife, and she works as a consultant, so she has time during the day. I kind of am chuckling because, like you, my phone rings all the time during the day, and I refuse to answer my phone. And I tell most of my clients during the day, because my justification for it is rather simple. It's that I am not going to take your time, meaning my customer whose job I'm working on's time, to sell the next customer.
Exactly.
That's not the time to do that. Yeah. And so I always tell people I will get back to you at my first opportunity, and now I actually pass it off to my wife, and she calls them back on her first opportunity. But originally I was doing it at lunch and then after, at the end of the day. Johnny, we need to look into Mark 8. I think that we'll have to take, I might take a test trial on that just to see how that goes.
I can give I have a couple of videos on my website about that, but I'm planning to make a bigger one, the whole process from inquiry all the way to invoice, and how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I use Wave as far as the accounting software, and I do the same thing. I invoice people from the driveway. Very rarely do I go home and do it. Occasionally, but it just depends on time of day and traffic usually. But I do everything right there. Then it's done. When I get done with the job, it's done. And it's invoiced, and the job is truly not done until the money is in the house. But again, with most of my customers, and I'm sure you have the same type of situation, when you develop that relationship with them, they pay you I get usually paid within 12 hours in almost all cases.
Usually paid probably on average within an hour and a half.
And I would say that's really probably more like it. I mean, once they get it, they pay me is what it is. And it's amazing, folks. I mean, it really is. Again, for our homeowners, it's a good indication of someone's level of professionalism. You have an investment into that software, or some way the software gets paid. We'll put it that way. Some way the software gets paid, but you've learned how to use that to streamline your process. And John and I talk about process a lot, just because it's all a process and it's just how things flow. So that's fantastic. Let's roll into the handyman process. So AJ, you've got a YouTube channel called The Handyman Process. Talk to us about that. Tell us why you started it. Tell us more about it. Tell us what can people expect when they go to that site? What sort of things, how do they get to that site? Give us some details on it.
Sure. Yeah. So it's a YouTube channel that I started a couple of weeks ago. The handle is called @HandymanProcess. So if you just search YouTube for Handyman Process, you'll find the video. So I've been a process-oriented guy probably my whole life. I'm a very analytical type of person. My day job, I'm doing analytics. I had the good fortune of working with a lot of smart engineers, scientists, rocket scientists as well in some of my time in the Navy and acquisitions. And then I also held high-level positions in the government, process related to weapons systems acquisition. So process is deeply ingrained in me. So whenever I look at anything, I look at the process, I look at streamlining the process and making flows better. And it's very clear to me and very intuitive to me. So I'm always searching for things to increase that. So as I went through my journey of becoming a businessman, becoming a handyman, I started learning all these things, and my game just started getting better and better. It's like, somebody practicing baseball. You keep hitting baseball, you're going to get better. So as I got better and better and researched more, I started trying new software tools. And for the new guys, you might be hesitant, like, oh, I don't want to spend $40 a month for this or that. like I look back in that, like what a waste of time, me not just jumping on, Mark8 or some of these other things right off the bat, just because from a process perspective, it made my life so much easier. But there's a learning curve that goes along with those types of things. So the handyman process is really trying to take that learning curve and flatten it out for people. So instead of being overwhelmed with, I don't know what to do here, I'm going to walk you through what I do and how I do from a process perspective. And I look at things process both physically, and when I say physically, let's take an inquiry to an estimate, to a site visit, to a work order, to scheduling, to invoicing, to review, follow up. That's like one long, I'll say, a physical process. And there's also paperwork processes that go along with that, right? You're collecting information and data as you're going along with that. And then there's a financial piece to that as well, like these separate flows that happen. So if you sit back and you look at that, it's like, well, how do I stream the physical process of doing all this stuff, right? So I use Google Voice for most of my phone stuff. It separates my personal number from the business. I can text back and forth. So I got that part covered. We talk about Mark8. I can run everything through Mark8 in terms of keeping in touch with the clients. Then I add another piece, Square integration. So most of my clients pay by credit card or debit card. So I have a Square integration into Mark8. Now I'm completing that little piece of that puzzle. And then the probably the best tool that I use, and I haven't mentioned it yet, is a big thing that people struggle with is bookkeeping and money management. So when I first started off, I said, what are most people doing? And everybody's advice was go to your local credit union and establish a business bank account. So I did that, right? I went to my local credit union. I established a business bank account, and it was a pain in the butt, to tell you the truth. It was an old credit union, and they just did things in old ways, and it drove me nuts. Plus I had to pay money for the account. Like, man, this sucks. Then I found
too many better options than that. Trust me.
Yep. I found a bank called Novo. So it's not even a bank. There's a lot of companies out there that add these technology layers to banks, right? So the bank that I use is called Middlesex Bank, but Novo is the technology application that interfaces with Middlesex Bank. Now with that, so first of all, I could do all invoicing and stuff in there as well. But the cool thing about it is I run the Profit First system, and there's probably a whole nother podcast on that. But quick summary of it is, as each of my dollars comes in, I set aside money for operating expenses, set aside money for paying myself, I set aside money for profit, and I set aside money for taxes. Now it's crystal clear to me where my money is. I don't touch the taxes at the end of every month. I just send a check to the IRS. I only, when I buy things, I only charge it to the operating expense account. And then I just write myself a check from the owner's account. And then whatever I have left in the profit account, I give it myself as a bonus. But so that's one feature of Novo that I use that I absolutely love. But the second and more powerful feature is every transaction that comes in, it's almost like QuickBooks. First of all, you can attach it. So I went to Lowe's the other day to get some supplies. So the charge comes in, it's $50. I charge it against my operating expense account, which draws that account down. Then I categorize it for my Schedule C. And for those who don't know what that is, the IRS, at the end of the year, if you're a sole proprietor or LLC, single member LLC, you have to categorize where all your expenses are. So those categories are built into my bank app. So I just go in and say, this is cost of goods sold. And then the final two pieces, I have an area where I can add notes. This was for work order so-and-so. And then there's also an area for me to add receipts or a link to a Google Drive. So now I have everything in that one particular record for every expense that I have. And at the end of the year, I quit QuickBooks, to be honest with you. I don't need it. Because I'm a data scientist, I could run my own sheets in terms of balance sheets and cash flow statements. But I really don't need to. I mean, my money comes in, it goes out, I get paid. But that app has been just a huge game changer for me. And I don't get paid by them. I just absolutely love it. And I think if other handymen use a system like that or some other thing, and they look ahead of every dollar that you're spending, if you categorize it all right now, taxes, the breeze, understanding what you're eligible for is the breeze. If you ever have to get audited, you can go back. It's all in one central spot.
Yep.
So
well, that is a whole nother podcast right there.
That's a whole
nother
thing.
Yeah.
But we have talked about that. My wave system is very similar to what you're talking about. It's extremely similar to what you're talking about. So at the end of the time, it knowing where, and I too, like you, work on a profit first system, which is just a different way of thinking about it, folks. If you want to look it up, type in profit driven system into Google, you'll get umpteen million different systems. But basically, the bottom line is you pay your profit to yourself first. The rest of it comes out. It determines all how you determine your pricing and things like that. It's a very, very effective system. We are in business to make profit. We are not in business to work for free. And so that's the bottom line of that. And there's nothing wrong with profit. It's just a question of keeping it, I guess, reasonable, if you want to call it that, but you still have to make a profit. You have to, because there's expenses, and there's a lot of expenses, a lot more expenses than we think.
So let me add this, so they can get to this on YouTube, right? At Handyman Process.
Yep. Yeah. Just search YouTube Handyman Process.
Okay. Cool.
I have a handful of videos up right now, but I'm planning to. I'm looking for feedback. So if anybody's listening to this and you want to have feedback, just go to one of my videos and write a comment. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see, depending on where you are in the continuum. I have no problem going back and kind of explaining nitnoid little details of why do I do this, why do I do that, why do I pay myself, how do I pay myself. There's all these questions out there that I'm eventually going to try to answer through the Handyman Process.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's a big task. John and I touch on a lot of these factors, but we touch on a lot more as well. And so this is part of the reason why I wanted to have you on, was just to get another viewpoint on many of the same issues that we have as handymen and or business people. Really, it's more about business than it applies to any business you want to get into. It really does not matter. And also on one of my goals is always to help people become financially independent or really understand their financial life. And because it makes a huge difference when you finally when the light bulb goes off and you realize, every month I need X amount of dollars to live, and I have it, and it's like, so the stress is off. It's like no more stress. So that's effectively called financial independence. It's one of the types of financial independence. There's a whole series of them. But anyway, I consider it to be one of my life goals is to help people save time, money, and aggravation. Part of that is giving them financial peace. And so I look at things very holistically as well. We're working a lot on health and other things as well right now too. So, but anyway, John doesn't, some of those things we don't talk about.
Speaking of that, saving time, money, and aggravation, let's roll on here. Do you have any tips for our listeners that can help them?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to the handyman. Now let's talk to the homeowner. And Larry, you and I talked about this a little bit before last time we talked. Is a lot of what handymen do is not complicated. And I'm really trying to encourage a lot of people to do it themselves. And I'd actually talked myself out of a lot of jobs. People will send me pictures and I'll give them advice.
Yep.
So I recommend it. If you're a homeowner, don't be afraid to do it. There's a ton of content out there that will kind of walk you through these things. And if you're dealing with plumbing, maybe you want to.
Well, and that's funny you say.
But
yeah, it's funny you say that, because we did one of the episodes that we had was some things that you should do and some things that you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
That there's nothing that goes beyond, but it's one of those things that I can watch a YouTube video on how to fly a plane, but that doesn't mean I'm a pilot. So, so you kind of, but there are simple things, and I do the same thing. I'm sure Larry does too. Is there are certain things that it's like you don't need me to do that. Let me just kind of talk you through this real quick, and that goes a long way. So that's good. That's good advice right there.
And I don't know about you guys, but I'll say from my perspective, if somebody calls me up, I give a lot of free advice, and I'm not. I don't know if it's good for my business or bad for my business. I think it's good because it's building my brand again. It's building my trustworthiness. Hey, I called this guy. He kind of walked me through everything on the phone, or his plumber or his electrician walked me through. They didn't even came to my house. Like, they're going to remember me for that.
Sure.
And it's a win-win because I get to help them. They remember me for that. So don't be afraid. If you have some questions, reach out to your handyman, ask him some particular questions. If he believes it's beyond your ability, he's going to give you an estimate. If he thinks you can do it your own, he might give you advice to do that. So reach out to the people that are highly recommended in your area.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah, that's a great tip. It's kind of funny you say that. I offer all my clients, I say, basically, if you're doing a project that I've passed on, a much larger construction process, please don't hesitate to contact me and use me as a sounding board.
Yeah, yeah.
Does this quote sound right? Are they doing the right job? Because most people don't know. And so it's like, are they using the right materials? Are they doing this? Are they doing that? And I actually appreciate when my clients call me and ask me that, because it's like, oh, fantastic, because I just don't have time to do I don't have the time to resources and tools and lots of times on crew-based jobs, I just don't have the crew, and I don't want the crew to go do the job. But I want people to make good decisions. So as a result of that, I don't mind giving out the advice, because it's just part of doing business. And it does, I will tell you from years of experience, it does help your business. It really, really helps your business. So awesome. So tell us about, everybody has a unique or crazy job. What is your unique what's the one job that you sat there and go, man, what happened here? Or wow, that was different. I mean, we had one guy putting in zip lines. I thought that was pretty cool. So what do you have like that for us, AJ? What's out there?
I mean, I haven't.
Interesting.
I had a neighborhood flip out. So those transformer boxes that people have sitting in their front yards.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a client reach out to me to build an enclosure around that, and I told her, I said, I don't know if you're allowed to do that, and she said, no, I got permission from the county. I got permission from the the HOA, and as long as it's removable, everything's good to go. I'm like, all right, so you got all the permissions. I'll go ahead and build something they can just take apart. So I built this really beautiful, intricate box, very lightweight. You just pull a couple things and the thing pops out. And I post a picture on my social media, and everybody went crazy. You can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. It's going to start a fire.
Because even on the thing it says, don't put bushes around. Everybody puts bushes around them.
And I told the homeowner, I was like, listen, all this is on you. I'll build a box, and if you want to put it up there, you put it up there. And she's happy, and all of her neighbors are happy. But man, the everybody on Facebook that's been holding back, it just kind of came out of the woodwork on that one. But I was really proud of it. It was a really beautiful looking thing, and it just totally transformed the yard. But I probably won't do one of those again just because of that. Or I'll build it and leave it in the driveway. And if you want to put it together and put it over the box, go ahead. But I'm not going to go ahead and post it. But that was probably
that's actually one. If somebody said that to me, I'd actually want it. Could I see those permissions in writing, please?
She might have got them, but that's generally, if you read all the placards that they put on those things.
Yeah, that was when I first started off. Somebody, that's why I won't do another one again. I'll build other things.
Where are you guys? Now here comes the lynch mob coming after me, right? So
exactly. So for all the handyman. Probably don't do one of those jobs. Pass on it. Use my experience from that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Johnny, do you have anything else for AJ?
I don't. I'd love to have you back, though. We've got we touched on a lot of complex issues here, or comprehensive issues. Let me put it that way. That we can get into, we can take apart here and unpack at a later time. Would be great. We've been talking with AJ of the Greenshire Handyman right outside of San Antonio, Texas, and we really appreciate you, finding the time to come on with us. This has been really enjoyable.
Yeah. How do people get a hold of you, AJ?
So the easiest way is to go to my website, www.greenshirehandyman.com, or on YouTube at Handyman Process.
Okay, perfect. All right, so that's good. Yeah. Awesome. All right, AJ, we want to thank you for being on the show. Do you have any other parting shots for us, or any other questions? Anything that you've been dying to ask us, I want to say?
No, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you bringing on the show. I've been listening to you guys for a long time, so it's kind of surreal to be on here with you guys, chit-chatting. I didn't mention it, and I'm not sure if you're going to go into it after this, but I did work for the Space Force for just a brief amount of time. So I do have some insight into what's going on in space. in case.
Johnny,
Yeah.
he's been tracking that. He knows where you live because the aliens are forever living
Yep.
in your backyard.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get
I
into the
didn't see
balloon, but anyways, okay. So
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
for
I can tell you personnel wise.
that's another
what's going
time.
on with Space Force.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, AJ, we want to thank you. We appreciate you being
All
on
right.
the
Take care,
show.
guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks.
Bye bye.
I want to thank AJ for being on the show. Man, there was a lot of information there. Johnny,
Yes.
what are some of your key takeaways on this show?
I also want to thank AJ for being on the show and taking the time that he had spent with us here. You know, some of the takeaways that I had, you know, it's a lot of it reconfirms a lot of things that we say. But you know, one of the things I pick up from that whole show is that the handyman business can be a great side hustle. And you know, just when you listen to AJ and how he's been doing it, you know, he's got a full 9-to-5 job, and he's doing this in his off hours.
Yep. Sure
And
enough.
you know, so for the folks out there that might want to that think that they might want to get into this, you know, follow his advice. You know how he did it. Just what we've been saying, and I think it's a good point of, you know, him talking about teaching himself, you know, some of the things, you know, along the way, and it just takes time to and experience to do these things. A lot of folks out there, you know, you probably know how to do a lot of these things, but other aspects of the business, you know, you kind of you learn as you can go, you know, and then you can mentor, you know, get mentored from other people. You know, and that kind of takes me to the it kind of goes from a temporary you know, position to a full-time position. So,
Right.
you know, that kind of
Right.
sets you up for that. So if you don't know what you want to do, you can try it out. So I thought that was great advice. And it also reconfirms about the success by his professionalism. And we stress that a lot on this show, that you know, showing up on time, cleaning up, doing a good job, yeah, that whole side of this business. And he also stressed, you know, being a process person, how that really made his life a lot easier. Now, process being on the bookkeeping side, leads, you know, all that kind of tracking, using the CRM system, customer relation management system, those kind of things.
You know, he does his jobs in process too, right? So he's got a very distinct process that he runs through when he does his job.
You're correct. You're correct. So that is one of the things that I took away from this.
Yeah, I think my big takeaways really were that AJ is a lifelong learner, and so am I. If you never stop learning, folks, I just read an article from Warren Buffett of all the things. You know, the guy reads like 6 to 8 hours a day, and he still learns after all the years, the most successful guy in the world. But you've got to just keep learning, and keep learning. And I really appreciated that he came out and said, you know, a lot of those things about and teaching yourself and so forth and so on. I thought that was great. I also liked his concentration on profit. He talks about the profit first system, and folks, that's a whole show in and of itself. I don't think we might do it, we might not, probably not, but there's plenty of resources out there in the world on, if you type in profit first into Google, you'll find out all about that whole philosophy. And it is truly a philosophy, a business philosophy, and it works extremely well. And then, you know, my third takeaway, which is always just it's my mantra per se: take care of your customers. If you take care of your customers, they're going to take care of you. It becomes very, very simple if you do the right thing and you take care of your customers. Johnny, is there anything else other than he now knows where you live because of Space Force? I was just found that fascinating.
Yeah, well, there's probably an NDA that he signed there, but there's a hush money. So anyways, he'll get into that, I'm sure. He knows a lot more than he's putting on. But no, I really did enjoy that. Really enjoyed that interview, and I do want to end by saying, thanks AJ for coming on and sharing your time. It was enjoyable.
Yes. Certainly appreciate it. With that, because now that Space Force is tracking the landings at John's house, we are out of here because Johnny doesn't have time to even take it apart before the feds. The feds are going to be showing up, Johnny. That's what's going to be happening. Anyway, folks, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, send us an email, questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. Check out our website. That is handymanprosradioshow.com. Our Facebook group @handymanpros. That's where AJ came from, and he does post up a pretty good amount of stuff out there. We're not as active as we need to be. But, Johnny, I loved your ladder picture, by the way, the other day. That was a beauty. Anyway, with that, folks, we'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.